Good morning, dear colleagues, students and friends. Καλημέρα σας, αγαπητοί συνάδελφοι, φοιτητές, φοιτήτριες, φίλοι και φίλες. Let me first, I would like to thank Professor Christina Sirkiopoulou for inviting me to participate in this quite important conference. The title of my presentation, as you can see, is Inclusive Education and specifically focusing on students with intellectual disabilities, some current trends and challenges. First of all, we are going to focus on the notion and practice of inclusive education and what inclusive education is, and then say some words about the inclusion of students with intellectual disabilities. It is critical that everyone involved with inclusive education uses precise terminology. For this reason, United Nations developed the General comment that clarifies in a very concrete way the notions exclusion, segregation, integration, inclusion, according to which exclusion is when students are directly or indirectly prevented from or denied access to education in any form. Segregation is when the education of disabled students is provided in separate environments designed or used to respond to a particular or various impairments in isolation from non-disabled students. Integration is a process of placing disabled persons in existing mainstream educational institutions as long as the student can adjust to the standardized requirements of such institution. And what inclusion is? Inclusion is a process of systemic reform embodying changes and modifications in content, teaching methods, approaches, structures, and strategies in education to overcome barriers with a vision serving to provide all students of the relevant age range with an equitable and participatory learning experience and environment that best responds to their requirements and preferences. The key words here that are important are systemic reform, changes and modifications, overcome barriers, relevant age range, participatory, equitable, requirements and preferences. In the absence of deep knowledge of inclusive education, however, these words may come to be misinterpreted in both policy and practice, though allow me please to put some further explanation to these words. First of all, systemic reform means transforming the education system. In other words, no more mainstream plus special. It demands a reform of the ways in which disability support funding is allocated. It means teaching all teachers to be teachers of students with disability. Overcome barriers is a direct reference to the social model of disability in which disability is conceptualized as an outcome of the interaction between a person with an impairment and the way a societal organization such as education respond to persons with impairments. Equitable. Equitable does not mean the same. Equitable means fair. Preferences and participatory refer to consultation, voice, and participation in decision-making. Requirements instead of needs is a right-based term that replaces the word needs. Changes and modifications and relevant age range mean teaching to diversity rather than the middle. From this perspective, When a student on the autism spectrum is included in a busy and visually overwhelming mainstream classroom by issuing them with a pair of noise-cancelling headphones and a teacher aide to deal with the inevitable meltdowns, this is not inclusion. This is more relevant to previous processes, that is, integration. Also, if we have in one classroom uh, typically developed peers with a regular education teacher, and then at the side there is the disabled student with a parallel support, again, this is not integration, this is not inclusion. It is more towards integration. Now, let's go to the inclusion and students with intellectual disabilities. International research has shown that curriculum modifications are regarded as essential for the social and academic progress of students with ID. Curriculum modifications include curriculum adaptations and augmentations. Curriculum adaptations refer to the use of supplementary aids, visual aids, technological means, whereas curriculum augmentations involve the additional instruction of specific strategies. The implementation of universally designed curriculum focuses on restructuring the traditional lessons by providing alternate means and curricular augmentations to promote students' access, improve their participation, and increase their understanding in different areas of learning. These strategies generally aim at changing the way information is presented and the way students respond without, however, altering the curriculum content. Research has also indicated 4 instructional strategies as being quite effective for students with intellectual disabilities in inclusive classrooms. First of all, cooperative learning. Cooperative learning reinforces collaboration by forming small groups of students with and without disabilities in order to complete an assignment, taking into consideration each student's unique needs and abilities. Peer-mediated instruction shares common characteristics with cooperative learning as it aims to actively engage students in the learning process by the help of students' partners or by forming small groups. Embedded instruction. Embedded instruction can assist students with ID to follow class routines and implement the activities of the classroom by systematically incorporating techniques such as prompting, fading, reinforcement, error correction procedure, and so on. Also, student-directed learning strategies include instructional activities which primarily aim to develop decision-making skills and problem-solving, goal-setting and attainment skills, self-management and self-advocacy skills, self-knowledge and awareness, as well as positive perceptions of control and efficacy. Student-directed learning strategies decreases the dependency of students with intellectual disabilities and improve their motivation and performance in the general education classroom. So, dear colleagues and friends, as we can see, we have numerous practices for promoting the inclusion and well-being of students with intellectual disabilities in regular education. However, very few students with intellectual disabilities experience inclusive learning environments. In a very recent European study conducted by Buchner and his colleagues, in which 7 countries took place, Austria, Ireland, Germany, Greece, Czech Republic, Poland, and Italy, it was found that students with intellectual disabilities did not benefit much from the progress towards inclusive education within the European countries and are much more excluded from mainstream schools than children with other types of impairment. As a matter of fact, students with intellectual disability can be considered as the key population of the segregated special school system. The results also indicated that there is a lack of data on this population in relation to inclusive education. This is an issue that hinders even further the design and development of a strategic plan concerning the inclusion of students with intellectual disability. Finally, another study conducted by Icon and his colleagues, and this study investigated public attitudes towards inclusive education and how these attitudes varied according to students' type of impairment. It was found that the public was less favorably inclined towards the inclusion of students with an intellectual disability in comparison to students with other impairments. The same negative attitudes towards the inclusion of students with intellectual disabilities were found by other studies concerning teachers and other practitioners. What the above shows to us? The above shows to us that we do have the knowledge and the skills to promote the inclusion of students with intellectual disabilities. However, their inclusion is neither popular nor fashionable. It seems that a lot is needed to be done if we want laudable rhetorics to become a reality. Thank you very much, and I am at your disposal if you have any questions or any further clarifications. Thank you very much.